Hello fellow video game collectors, and welcome to another episode of Pickups. So today I'm going to be talking about some games that I got from a few of my local Goodwill stores. Okay, so from the first Goodwill store, everything that I got from there was just $3. So the first game that I got was a copy of Grand Theft Auto 3 for the PlayStation 2. So I have never played a single Grand Theft Auto game before. I haven't played a single game in the entire series. So I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. I guess, when it came out, I was just, so involved with RPGs like Final Fantasy X that I just never gave it a look. But I've just heard so many good things about the Grand Theft Auto series, and I definitely want to sit down and play through all of them, even the first two, which I know are a bit dated on the original PlayStation. But this one here, Grand Theft Auto 3, was the defining game of the series, because it was the first game of the series that, brought it into that 3D open world sandbox environment. The later games in the GTA series definitely improved on this one, a lot, but never before had a game just wowed so many people. You're just able to, walk up and steal a car from someone and then turn around and get in a gunfight with some cops. I definitely plan on playing this game soon because I just want to be able to appreciate the roots of the Grand Theft Auto series. Then also for the PlayStation 2, I got a couple of Guitar Hero games. So the first one I got was a dual pack of both Guitar Hero 1 and 2, as well as Guitar Hero Encore Rock the 80s, and also for the Wii, a copy of Guitar Hero Smash Hits. So I first got into the Guitar Hero series with Guitar Hero 3 on the Wii, and I just fell in love with the genre. So even though I fell in love with Guitar Hero 3 such a long time ago, it was really the Rock Band series that won me over. Here I have Rock Band 1 and 2 and 3, and I actually have almost all of the Rock Band games here because I just enjoyed playing the drum set a lot more than strumming on the guitar. Even though I like both as much, I have a musical background with percussion instruments, so that's just what I ended up leaning more towards. But I've definitely been a big fan of both series. Even though I prefer Rock Band a little bit more, I've always still loved Guitar Hero since that's what got me into it. So I'm really excited to be able to play through some of these older games in the series that I have never played or touched before. And one thing I'm thankful for is that this Guitar Hero 2 controller here, which is actually a Xbox controller, works just fine on my PlayStation 2. So I don't have to go hunt down additional hardware and guitar controllers just to play these games on PlayStation 2. I can still use this same controller on both systems, which is something I didn't know about until I just tried it this week. And that's just awesome. Now there is an exception to that with the controller. With the Wii versions of the game, they actually made a non-USB controller. You just plug your Wiimote into it and it's wireless. So you do have to have a different controller for the Wii system, but I've already got that somewhere in storage. So that won't be a problem with playing Guitar Hero Smash Hits. So if you've never played a Guitar Hero or a Rock Band game before, definitely check them out. They're a lot of fun to play with your friends. Have them come over for a night, set everything up, and just jam out to some tunes for a few hours. Then the next game that I got at this Goodwill was a copy of Band Hero. So here's yet another rhythm-based music game that came out sometime around Guitar Hero 5 or shortly thereafter. It's technically part of the Guitar Hero series, which I didn't know about because I didn't even know this game existed until I saw it on the shelves and pulled it down. But it's actually published by Activision as well, and it is part of the Guitar Hero series. So the songs in this game are actually geared more towards a younger audience. So it has artists like Taylor Swift in it. So just think of this as being more of a top 40 pop songs of the late 2000s, 2009 time frame. But unfortunately, the songs in this game are the censored versions because this game was made for teenagers. Despite being a spin-off, it's actually a pretty decent game. It also has a party mode for casual players, so you can just pick up the instruments and play the game without worrying about failing any of the songs. So it's actually been a really long time since I've played any of these rhythm-based games. They were really popular about 8 years ago, but it's kind of just died off since then. But I do think I'm going to pick up a copy of Rock Band 4 in the near future for Xbox One whenever I can find a good sale or deal on it. Then from the second Goodwill that I went to, for $1.50 each, I found a few GameCube sports games. Now, I don't really like picking up a lot of sports games, but I will sometimes grab them, especially when they're pretty cheap, because I can use their cases as replacement cases or as cases for some of the better loose disc games that I have. So the first of these that I got was a copy of Madden 2005. So if you've played one Madden game, you've pretty much played any of them. But I will say that it is pretty convenient to be able to play up to 4 players on the GameCube version. The next one that I got was a copy of ESPN's International Winter Sports 2002, which is a game that I had never heard of before. But what it is just an Olympics winter sports game, and it's not a very good one at that. It features 10 different events that you can participate in, such as bobsledding and curling, skiing, and even figure skating. But overall, it's just a very average Olympic sports game that really isn't any fun. And then we have what appears to be a copy of Madden 2003, but if you open it up, it's actually a copy of Crash Tag Team Racing. So this is why I open up every single game that I find at a Goodwill, whether it's a sports game or some other game that just doesn't look really great. I always open the cases because you never know what you're going to find inside of them. So if you're not familiar with this game, it's actually a pretty fun kart racing game that plays a lot like Mario Kart but is Crash Bandicoot themed. So it's actually a follow-up to the original Crash Team Racing for PlayStation 1, but it plays a bit differently because they decided to mix both platforming and kart racing together in the game. So there's a hub world that connects you to all the racetracks that are split up amongst different worlds. So you have to go through these platformer areas of the game to get to the actual races. Which, if you think about it, it's kind of a neat idea, but it also feels a little weird at the same time because it feels like you're playing 2 separate games that just have nothing to do with each other. Plus, the platforming parts of the game are pretty mediocre, although the kart racing segments are really good and a lot of fun. So if you're a fan of Crash Bandicoot and you like kart racers, then definitely check out Crash Tag Team Racing, or check out the original game Crash Team Racing on PlayStation 1. So then for $2.50 each, I found a couple more PlayStation 2 games. The first one being a copy of WarJetz. So this is a sequel to a previous game that was called Thunder Tanks. But instead of tanks like in the previous game, you are, unsurprisingly, flying around in a jet, blowing things up everywhere. It's basically the exact same gameplay as the previous game, Thunder Tanks, but instead of being on the ground, you are instead in the air. But the jets in this game, they just don't fly fast at all. They go really slow, which kind of throws off the pacing of the game. That speed might be okay for tanks, but definitely not so for jets. The gameplay is also very uninspiring. You just fly around in an arena very slowly, blowing up objectives and collecting floating pieces of cash. It's just overall a very mediocre game. The next game that I got was a copy of Motor Mayhem. So this is a combat arena racer game, sort of like the Twisted Metal games if you've ever played those before. This game actually came out around the same time as Twisted Metal Black, which kind of overshadowed it as they are in the same genre. You drive around in all sorts of different vehicles, you pick up power-ups and just blast your opponents to death. It really just looks like any other combat arena game. You can definitely tell that the game was geared more towards a younger audience because it kind of has like a cartoony look to it. But overall though, it's not a bad game, but it's also not really a great game. If you compare it to something like Twisted Metal, it's just not as mature of a game, but it can still be pretty fun to play. Then the next few games that I found were $3 each. The first one of those being a copy of 13 for the original Xbox. So this is a first-person shooter game that has a cartoony cel-shaded look to it that reminds me a lot of the Borderlands series. But the game looks more like a comic book with the cutscenes in the game and the comic style little dialogue boxes that show up on it, and the little camera pop outs that it have that looks like pieces of a comic strip. Plus it has those comic book like text that pops up over people's heads whenever you hit them or shoot them. You know, it'll say things like bang, or they'll go ah. It's definitely a very unique looking game, and it was actually based off of a graphic novel series of the same name. The story is also pretty good in the game. It kind of starts off like Bourne Identity, where you don't remember anything and you're spending most of the game trying to regain your memories, especially as you're accused of assassinating the President of the United States. Overall, it's definitely a unique game. It can be found for pretty cheap, about $10 or so, and it's definitely worth checking out. Then the next game that I got for $3 was a copy of NBA Streets Volume 3. So the NBA Street series combines all of the players and names from the NBA with the playstyle of street ball. It's a 3-on-3 game with lots of emphasis on style and tricks that you do in the game. They also even included a dunk contest where you can show off your awesome dunk moves. And it features a character editor so you can make your own street baller too. If you're looking for a non-traditional arcadey NBA basketball game, this is definitely one to look out for and to pick up and play, as it is a lot of fun for a quick game of basketball. Then the next game that I got for $3 was a copy of Mobile Light Force 2. So this is a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up game. It's also not really a sequel to the previous Mobile Light Force game, other than in name, as it is just a completely different game. So you don't have a ship in this game like most shoot 'em ups. Instead, you choose a character who is just flying around the screen shooting at enemies, which is pretty bizarre. It's also a bullet hell shooter, so you'll see lots of projectiles just flying all around the screen that you're trying to avoid. Enemies also drop coins on the screen when you kill them, and you collect those in order to get, a higher score as well as extra lives in the game. And it's also pretty crazy seeing all of these flying teddy bear looking things as well as these ballerina dolls as enemies. It's definitely a very Japanese game, although it was westernized in this port with a few small minor changes from the original Japanese game. Overall, it's a pretty fast game, but it is really good. If you like shoot 'em ups, definitely look out for a copy of this because you can get it pretty cheap for under $10. And at the last Goodwill that I went to, I found a stack of PSP games for $1.50 each. However, though, they're all NBA sports games, but like I mentioned before, I'll probably just gut these for their cases because I do have some better loose PSP games that I need to get cases for, so I might just end up using these for that. So of these, I found copies of NBA, which is the first one that came out for the PSP and is technically the 2005 version, as well as NBA 06, which is the next in that series. And then there's NBA Live 07. So the live series is a little bit different than the non-live games or the 2K games. I guess they're maybe a little bit more arcadey. I don't really know because I don't really play a lot of basketball games. So if you know, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. And a copy of NBA Ballers Rebound. So this is more of an outdoor playing in the streets kind of game, sort of like NBA Streets Volume 3. But instead of the 3-on-3 matches, they are actually 1-on-1 or even 1-on-1-on-1. I think it kind of plays more like the NBA Jam series. And finally, a copy of NBA 2K12 with Michael Jordan on the front cover here. So this is not the last NBA 2K game for the PSP. The last one was actually 2K13. So this one's not quite as valuable, but it still goes for about $10. This is probably the best one of the bunch that I have shown you here. But if you can find a copy of 2K13, it goes for about $40 to $50 complete. So definitely keep your eye out for that one. And that's everything that I got to show for today. So as always guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up as that always helps me out. If you have anything that you want to say about the games today, then be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you're new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe. And remember, you gotta get the power up to beat the game. But this one here, I can't say Grand Theft Auto. So I remember when this game first came out. So I definitely fell in love with but it's definitely check out this one. You can definitely tell that the game was geared towards a more younger audience. You know, when you compare it to a more mature game, like the game itself is. Shut up. Theon, shut up. And a copy of NBA Baller. And that's everything that I got to show for.